It is the end of masculinity. And no, not the man bun. I mean, it's actually the end of masculinity. And if you wear a man bun, I'm not disgracing you. You're probably more confident, more masculine for wearing that. But it is the end of masculinity. The testosterone levels are lowering per generation, apparently. This has been around. There's a lot of information about this everywhere, and it's really weird. Why they go into maybe a reason why. They say trend does not seem to be attributable to health and lifestyle changes, but they say that it is later on in this little picture. So it's kind of confusing. But yeah, the interesting thing we discovered was that on average, when we measured the testosterone in the blood of a 60-year-old in 1989, it was higher than that in a different 60-year-old measured in 1995. We observe the same phenomenon over a wide range of ages. Although testosterone loss is common as men age, it is often associated with diabetes, abdominal obesity, sexual dysfunction, depression, and other adverse conditions. The thing about that, I mean, yeah, it's probably, I don't know, it's like what started first, the chicken or the egg? Because, yeah, those things could cause a loss in testosterone, but then again, people with all those things probably just have a loss in testosterone, but anyway, it is decreasing over the years, so it is getting lower. It is later. I didn't copy and paste the whole entire article. The other half on the other side is another section, but there was a 0.4% decrease per year, which is like massive. I think that's gigantic per year. I do think it's 0.4% of the previous year. I don't think it's a 0.4% of an original number, but that's still gigantic. And then there's a chart here that shows, it's kind of small, you can see it shows the differences, the decrease in testosterone over the generations, and it's really not a giant time span. It's a really small time span for that loss of testosterone. So something is going on. I mean, something's happening. There's no way that it's been on this decrease over the entire lifetime of humans. I can't, because if there was, then the original humans would be so masculine, their giant nut sacks, their balls would be like massive, just producing a massive amount of testosterone. They would be so manly, it'd be ridiculous. We go back to the primitive ages. So I think something's going on. Impact of lifestyle. The findings of another study by Trevision, the same people that did the other one, indicated that health and lifestyle changes such as developing diabetes, weight gain, or loss of a spouse can have as much impact on testosterone levels. So then, that's what I mean. Like, trend doesn't seem to be attributable to health and lifestyle, but then it is. It says that it is, because this says that it is. Can have as much impact on testosterone levels as normal aging during a short to mid-length period of about 10 years. Then at the bottom, this population level decline in testosterone and concentrations in men is not explained fully by the usual suspects, but they just kind of said it was. But regardless, it's going down. I don't know. I could place some blame on a few things. Mainly, guys are being pussified. They're just being pussified. There's no masculinity. Masculinity is being destroyed on all fronts. This woman, DZ Marie, because I wanted to see, because I know that there's a bunch of the toxic masculinity that's going around. I know there's a bunch of debate here. There's a bunch of debate going on with feminists and everything, and all the PC people talking about toxic masculinity. And what the hell is toxic masculinity? Just masculinity. I think that's what it is. But they explain it as ruthless as they could possibly explain it. Masculinity is constantly changing, but it has undergone its most dramatic change in the last few decades. For centuries, Western nations have defined a man's role as being dominant, aggressive, the provider, the protector, and stoic. Yeah, a guy. That's what a guy is. And that's not just Western nations. That was always a guy. That was always a guy. Forget that. They were way more dominant, aggressive, and providing and protecting and stoic before, when they were killing woolly mammoths and shit, when they were fucking hunting tigers and shit, when they were hunting animals. They were way more aggressive and dominant. It's not even compare this to a woman's supposed role of being submissive, meek, weak, nurturing, emotional. I don't know why women see that as being such a bad thing. Meek, weak, nurturing, emotional. Nurturing, how's nurturing a bad thing? Compare this to the horrible nurturing and emotional women, etc. But with the invention of effective birth control, the women's rights movement, with the work of the LGBT plus community, there's a plus for some reason. I guess that's another gender that hasn't been discovered. And now third wave feminism, we're in a gender limbo of sorts. No, we're not. You guys are just crazy. People of my generation, millennials, are having a tough time figuring out the new gender norms. Millennials are the worst generation. I hate being part of the millennials. I hate the millennials. I hate that I'm part of them. They're all crazy. All they like to do is destroy Starbuckses that they go to, which makes no sense to me. But they like destroying shit and raging and rebelling for no reason other than just to rebel. And it's really not it's not tough figuring out gender norms. One has a penis, one doesn't have a penis, and then things go associated with that. Gender is associated with your sex. Honestly, I don't know the difference, but apparently there's some type of difference. What is toxic masculinity anyway? Oh, but like all things, there's a dark side to masculinity. The gross, shadowy. It's always men are always like evil, and women can't have it. There's no dark femininity. What is toxic masculinity anyway? This is the attitude most closely linked to domestic and sexual violence. The idea that emotions are feminine, therefore a weakness, is the big contributor to the suicide rate of men. That's the contributor to the suicide rate of men, is that emotions are weakness. It's not that women are denying men on a day-to-day basis and men haven't even touched another human being in 25 years. That's not what it is. It isn't that men are put into this competitive gauntlet for success. That's not what it is. It's that we can't cry. We're not allowed. We can't cry in a room. I remember when I read incel forums. That's what they would talk about. Incels wouldn't talk about how society rejects them and girls won't even look at them and treat them like they're invisible. It's that they're not allowed to be feminine. They're not allowed to be emotional. That's what it is. That's what it is. I remember them talking about that. It's the club that has all the rotten apples and not all men, just those men as members. All those isolated incidents that we like to think are just one-offs, when in reality they're part of a much bigger problem. I don't know. The bigger problem. What is the bigger problem? That men actually exist on Earth and we have to kill them? Is that the big problem? That we can't have men? And then, and also, the movies now are so anti-men. They're not, they're not anti-men, but they're so like making men to be pussies now. Every movie, it's either making women into men. For some reason, it's toxic masculinity to be aggressive and dominant, but it's okay when women do it. That for some reason, it's fine. And women now, instead of priding themselves on giving birth, they pride themselves on being strong like a man, being dominant like a man, being aggressive like a man, yelling like a man, just being a man. The only real pro-woman on TV, on a screen, was Daenerys, because she showed how strong giving birth was. You can give birth to, not dragons, but you can give birth to someone powerful, and they're always going to be allied to you because you're their mom. That's the only woman on screen that showed the power of femininity. Nothing else. Not Wonder Woman. There are the movies with Alita Battle Angel. After I saw Alita Battle Angel, it's a good movie. It is a good movie. But holy God, this guy that's in the movie, Hugo, they make him out to be the biggest vagina. In one of the scenes, he gets his limbs chopped off. He gets all messed up by another like cyborg thing. And Alita carries him. He's a crying little ball. And Alita, a little girl, who probably weighs 100 pounds if she wasn't made of metal, carries him to safety. And he's like whimpering and crying. It's the most pathetic thing. And they're supposed to be in love. If that was real life, after Alita carried him, she would dump him, because it's not attractive to women to be emotional. As much as they say guys should be emotional, toxic masculinity, they're the ones promoting toxic masculinity by denying men of being emotional, because once a man is emotional, he's not attractive. He's just not attractive. That's why men are not emotional. They were just brought and designed over time to not be emotional because it helps them. It helps them in life to not be emotional. But the kid, the guy, in that scene, it's so pathetic. And the girl would have just left him. The girl would be like, "Okay, I helped you. I know you're crying and you're dying, but I'm not attracted to you anymore, and I have to go date that other cyborg that chopped your limbs off." And then the Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, all of these pro women, but they're really men. It's the stupidest fucking thing that you could possibly see. But it's never, guys are not, they're like trying to get rid of masculine men. They're trying to get rid of men. And then and the games, feminists. I know people heard about Gamergate, feminists trying to battle the sexism in games. How did we get here? Gaming has attracted or spawned many angry young men who are comfortable with harassing and abusing women. How did that come about? How did that come about? It's not. It's, by the way, gaming. Let me read the rest. I'm a feminist media scholar, and as such, I don't believe in gender essentialism. All sex is biological. Gender is a social construct. No, it isn't. We are trained from childhood to behave in certain gendered ways. No, little boys actually will just gravitate towards trucks and trains. That's actually not true. They'll just do that. They just genetically do that. There's an often promoted belief amongst certain people within the world of gaming and technology is naturally, even biologically, the domain of men. It's usually based on that they're naturally logical, women are naturally emotional. Please negates the fact but it completely negates the fact that computer programming was originally a feminized profession. But I don't remember that. I didn't look it up to like counter this argument because I just don't believe this. But when I played games, and I was playing games when NES came out. When NES came out, that's when I started playing. That's when I was a kid. And if you look at the cast, at the end of every single game, it shows the cast. Every name was a guy's name, like Mitsumoto. It's always a Japanese because most of the games are Japanese, but it's always a guy. It was a guy every single solitary time doing it. Microsoft was made by a guy, whether it's Bill Gates or the guy he stole Microsoft from. It was a guy. It's always a guy. And by the way, gaming is an escape from reality. That's what gaming is. So you have to say, like, why are guys being angry and comfortable with harassing and abusing women in games? Is because they're getting shit on in real life, and it's just being manifested from that, and that's their escape. Is they could finally vent their shit that they have to go through in life, and they could vent it on a video game because it's actually safe. It's one of the last safe havens. It's one of the last safe havens that a guy can have. He's playing a game. And it's really, and also it's not true. I don't see how it's abusive. I mean, there's so many trolls that really what that's saying is that girls are so sensitive that when they go on a game, they're so not used to trolling. They're so not used to guys. Guys troll so much. Unless you've lived the life of a guy and you grew up with male friends and you're making fun of each other and they make fun of you, that's all they do. That's all guys do. It's not that you're a girl. It's that guys just do that shit to make fun of everyone. I remember my cousin went on Dota. This is when I was playing Dota 1. And she went on like, oh, I'm going to go make fun of these losers and watch this. And I'm like, don't go on there. I'm like, you're not ready for what's about to happen. Their shit talking level is at like level 99 and yours is at level 1. You don't want to go on. And she went on thinking that she's going to make fun of these kids, and they just destroyed her. And I said, I told you. I'm like, listen, the guy world is a vicious, brutal world. You just don't venture in there. Just stick to makeup and shit. Do not venture in there. They ripped her apart, and she tried to make fun of them. And then I didn't do a lot of research on the TV and commercials. It's a giant. This is really a giant project. It's not really, can never really be done. But TV shows and commercials now, it's just making fun of men and ripping on men. They're idiotic. It's just like making men as low as and it's okay. Like, it's okay to just make fun of men, take away their masculinity, call them idiots, make them out to be retarded in commercials and TV shows. There's always a buffoon. I mean, I know Simpsons may have been the first, may have started it, but Marge never made fun of Homer. Homer was just a character in himself. He was just like a fooly character himself. Marge was never really making fun of him. But now, like, the woman is ripping on the guy and making fun of the guy and just shitting all over the guy. It's and I don't know if that's the cause, if that's part of the cause of testosterone lowering. I don't know. It's probably more related to all the obesity and everything. Although although who knows if there's, I don't think there's hard evidence. Although it looked like it was, but I don't know what the reason is. But regardless, testosterone is lowering, and we are losing we're losing men. We're losing men, and when men are actually gone, women are going to be like, holy shit, holy fuck.